I told myself not to expect anything. Just another Tuesday, another birthday nobody would remember, but deep down, I was still that hopeful kid, checking my phone every 5 minutes like some miracle text might appear. Spoiler alert, it did, and single quotes T.T. Work, Nana from marketing brought me a single cupcake with a plastic candle. Happy birthday, she chirped. We didn't forget. I forced a laugh, blew out the candle, made some joke about getting old. Everyone clapped and went back to their desks. That tiny act of kindness? It made the silence from my family hurt even worse. I bought myself a small bottle of wine on the way home. Told the cashier I was celebrating something minor. She just nodded, probably thinking I was pathetic. Maybe I was. Sitting on my couch that night, staring at my silent phone, I realized this was year 5. 5 birthdays in a row. Not even a text. But here's the thing that really destroyed me. 2 weeks later, they threw my little sister Ivy the kind of party I'd only seen in movies. The photos started flooding social media immediately. Rooftop restaurant, string lights, hired DJ, everyone dressed like they were walking a red carpet. And there was Ivy, glowing in the center of it all like the star she'd always been. I wasn't invited. I'd muted the family group chat weeks ago. Ignored all their planning texts. I was done trying to belong somewhere I clearly didn't fit. But then Ivy called me the night before. Please come, she whispered. It wouldn't feel right without you. Her voice caught me off guard. Ivy had never been cruel, she was just used to being the one they celebrated. She didn't create this gap between us. She was simply handed the better side of it. So I went. The venue was absolutely stunning. Ivy looked like a princess in her deep blue dress, hair professionally curled, makeup flawless. My parents floated around like proud peacocks, telling anyone who'd listen about her grades, her volunteer work, her bright future. Nobody asked how I was doing. I stood in the back, sipping flat soda, smiling whenever someone glanced my way. Then came the moment that shattered me completely. Dad clinked his glass. We're so proud of you, Ivy, he said, his voice actually breaking with emotion. You're kind, brilliant, and full of potential. And to show you just how much we believe in you, Mom stepped forward, dangling car keys like a game show prize. It's parked outside, sweetheart. The room went dead silent, then exploded. People screamed. Cameras flashed. Ivy burst into tears and threw herself into their arms while everyone applauded like it was the happiest moment in human history. I clapped, too, quietly, mechanically, like a robot programmed to pretend everything was fine. She got a car. I didn't even get a birthday text. That night, driving home alone, something inside me finally snapped. Not anger, something colder, more final. I wasn't mad about the car itself. I was destroyed by what it represented. The speeches, the tears, the pride, all the things I'd never been given, not even in fragments. The next morning, I couldn't function. Every time I looked at my phone, I heard that applause echoing in my head. Those cheers for Ivy felt louder than anything I'd ever received in my entire life. I started remembering things I'd buried deep. How Mom framed Ivy's participation ribbon while my perfect GPA barely got a good job. How I begged for guitar lessons in middle school and was told money was tight, then watched Ivy come home with custom riding boots a week later. How I saved for months to buy a refurbished laptop for college while Ivy unwrapped a brand new MacBook on Christmas morning. Back then, I made excuses. She's younger, they're learning, they'll do better next time. But after that party, I couldn't lie to myself anymore. This wasn't about age or learning. This was about who they chose to see and who they didn't. I pulled out an old box from my closet. Tax documents, receipts, random papers I'd kept just in case. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for. Maybe proof, maybe closure, maybe just a reason to stop feeling crazy. And then I found it, a bank statement. Pages of normal transactions, groceries, utilities, gas. But one line made my blood freeze. Tuition payment, Ridgeview University. 12, 780, not just one payment. 3 of them, all in Ivy's name, all in the past year. I sat there staring at those numbers, remembering Ivy's big speech at Thanksgiving. How she'd gotten a full scholarship, how proud our parents were that she'd earned it all herself, how they didn't have to lift a finger. They lied. To everyone. To me. To themselves. To her. This wasn't just about forgotten birthdays anymore. This was about years of calculated deception. Careful lies told in rooms I was never invited into. I folded that statement, slid it into an envelope, and placed it on my desk. I didn't know what I was going to do with it yet, but I knew exactly who needed to see it. 3 days later, Mom called. "Hi, sweetie," she chirped, like nothing had happened. "How are you?" "Fine," I said, though my voice sounded dead even to me. Long pause. Then she cleared her throat. "Listen, I wanted to talk about something. We're trying to figure out Ivy's car insurance. It's just until we get through the next few months. Do you think you could help cover it? Just a little?" I stared at that envelope on my desk. My hand gripped the counter until my knuckles went white. "You're serious?" My voice came out barely a whisper. "Come on, Celine. You know how things are. You've always been the responsible one. You have your own place, your job. We just figured you'd understand." The anger rose in my throat like poison. "You forgot my birthday. Again. For the 5th year in a row. And now you're calling to ask for money for Ivy's car?" "Oh, don't be dramatic," she snapped. "You know we love you." "But Ivy's still starting out. She's only 16. We're trying to give her the best start we can." I pressed my fingers into my temple. "This isn't about the car, Mom. This is about everything. It's about how you've spent years treating me like I don't exist. That's not fair. We've done our best for both of you. You were always the one who didn't need as much." Those words hit like a physical slap. Not because they were new, but because they were so familiar. I'd heard them 1,000 times in 1,000 different forms. Strong, independent, fine on your own. Nobody ever asked what it cost to become that way. "I can't do this," I whispered. "Celine," I hung up. The silence afterward was immediate and sharp. I stood there shaking, breathing like I'd run a marathon. My cheeks burned, my eyes stung, but no tears came. I picked up that envelope and held it with both hands. My fingers trembled. It was time to stop waiting for them to see me. It was time to make them look. I texted the family group chat the next morning. "We need to talk. All of us." Sunday, Mom replied within minutes. "Of course. Looking forward to it." Dad didn't respond. Ivy just sent a thumbs up. I spent the week rehearsing what I'd say, then throwing it all away and starting over. No version ever felt like enough. But I wasn't going there for their comfort. I was going to make them sit with what I'd been carrying. Alone, Sunday came. The house looked exactly the same, too clean, too bright, like nothing ugly ever happened there. I rang the doorbell even though I still had a key. Mom opened the door with that plastic smile. "You look great, honey." I didn't smile back. They were already positioned in the living room like actors on a stage. Dad on one end of the couch, arms crossed defensively. Mom beside him, hands folded tight. Ivy curled up in the armchair, trying to look casual but clearly nervous. "Thanks for being here," I said, though I didn't mean it. "There's something I need to say, and I need you to hear all of it." I pulled out the envelope but didn't hand it to anyone, just held it like evidence. "In a trial, you forgot my birthday again. 5 years in a row. Not a text, not a card." I kept telling myself it didn't matter, that I was grown, that I didn't need anything from you. They shifted uncomfortably but stayed silent. "But then you threw Ivy that party. You gave speeches. You cried. You gave her a car." And I stood there, clapping like I wasn't dying inside. Mom's eyes were already getting glassy. Dad stared at the floor like it might swallow him. "I found your bank statements." I held up the envelope. "The ones showing you've been paying Ivy's tuition. After telling me for years you couldn't help with anything. After I worked 2 jobs to keep my apartment and finish school." The silence was deafening. We didn't mean to hurt you, Mom whispered. Ivy's so young. She needed more help. You've always been so strong, stop. My voice cut through the room like a blade. That's the story you tell yourselves. That I didn't need anything because I never asked. That being strong means not deserving support. I turned to Ivy, who'd gone pale. I didn't ask for any of this, she said quietly. I didn't even know about the tuition. I know, I said. And I don't blame you. But you still got everything I was told we couldn't afford. You got the best of them, and I got what was left. Nobody spoke. The silence pressed against my skin like a weight. If I don't matter to you the same way she does, I said finally, then I'm done. I won't keep showing up for people who can't even see me. And then I walked out, for the last time. Without looking back, I didn't block their numbers immediately. Some part of me still hoped they'd fight for me, apologize, do something to prove I mattered, but when the silence stretched longer than I expected, I knew exactly what I had to do. The following Tuesday, I opened my phone and blocked all their numbers, one by one. No drama, no final message, just clinical precision, like closing windows before a storm. At first, the silence felt like pure relief. No more waiting for messages that never came. No more pretending to be okay with their casual erasure. I woke up without that tight ache in my chest for the first time in years. I rediscovered things I'd forgotten how to love. Pulled out old sketch pads buried in drawers. Started hiking again early mornings when the trails were empty and honest. The wind out there didn't ask anything of me. I started therapy. Every Thursday at p.m. in a small office that smelled like lavender and old carpet. At first, I didn't know what to say. Then one day I started talking and couldn't stop about the birthdays, the silence, the way being strong became an identity I never chose. My therapist asked me once, when did you learn that being loved meant being useful? I didn't have an answer. A week after our confrontation, Ivy texted from a different number. They're worried. You're hurting yourself, Celine. This isn't healthy. You don't have to cut us off like this. I stared at that message for a long time. Ivy meant well, she always had. But she hadn't lived in the quiet rooms I had. She hadn't sat at birthday dinners that never had a seat for her. She hadn't learned to make herself small to keep everyone comfortable, and she still didn't understand that walking away wasn't punishment. It was clarity. I didn't reply. Some nights I felt the old pull, check your phone, see if they called, maybe they finally understand. But I'd sit with that feeling, let it wash over me like a wave. I didn't have to fight it anymore. The silence was healing me. Until one Saturday when my doorbell rang, I opened the door and there he was, Dad, standing on my porch like someone who wasn't sure if he'd come to apologize or be told to leave. He looked smaller than I remembered, older. His hands were shoved deep in his pockets. Can I come in? He asked. I didn't answer, but I stepped aside. He sat on the edge of my couch like it wasn't his place anymore. For the longest time, he didn't speak. Then, we didn't mean to hurt you, Celine. We thought we were doing what was best. Ivy needed more, and you always figured things out. I sat across from him, hands folded. You made me figure things out. He flinched like the words landed harder than expected. I'm not strong because you believed in me, I continued. I'm strong because I didn't have a choice. Because every time I needed something, you told me we couldn't afford it. But somehow you always found a way for Ivy. He didn't argue, just nodded slowly, staring at the floor like it might hold answers he hadn't found in me. When he left, I didn't walk him to the door. Later that night, Ivy called. This time I picked up. I need to tell you something, she said quietly. The scholarship. It wasn't real. I waited. They told everyone I got a full ride, but they've been paying everything, taking out loans. They didn't want you to know. They didn't want me to feel guilty. I closed my eyes. But you knew, not at first. But yeah, I figured it out. And I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't want them to do it, Celine. I swear I didn't ask for any of it. I believed her. That was the hardest part. She never asked for the pedestal. She was just born into the right role. We sat in silence for a long time, breathing through something too old to name. I just wanted to be your sister, she finally whispered. For the first time, I realized I might want that too. A year later, my apartment feels different. Not bigger or quieter, just mine. The kind of stillness that doesn't ache anymore. I started a new job a few months back. My boss actually remembers my name, asks how I'm doing, thanks me for my work. It still catches me off guard sometimes, how something so basic can feel so foreign. Ivy and I talk now. Not every day, not about everything, but there's real effort. She asks about my life without defending our parents. We meet for lunch sometimes. Once she showed me a poem she wrote about sisters who grow up in different houses under the same roof. It made me cry, though I didn't tell her that. Mom and Dad haven't reached out again. I don't know if they ever will. Some part of me used to ache for that possibility. Now it just feels like a fact, like gravity, like something I can live with. I spent my birthday alone this year. Didn't throw a party, didn't post about it, didn't wait for anyone else to remember. Instead, I baked myself a small cake. Vanilla, just like that cupcake Nana brought me the year they forgot me for the 5th time. I set one candle in the middle. No singing, no applause. Just me in my kitchen, barefoot, the smell of sugar filling the air. I lit the candle, watched the flame flicker for a few seconds, then closed my eyes and breathed deep. I didn't make a wish. I didn't need to. When I opened my eyes, the room looked exactly the same, but something inside me had shifted completely. This time, I was certain I didn't need anyone else to show up.